Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center on this Friday afternoon, tracking a severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for parts of South Central Georgia all the way until about 5:30. So we need to be mindful of what could happen here in toward this area as we're looking toward Cook County, Southern Berrien County, Lanier, as well as Lowndes, Brooks, and Colquitt counties here. Severe thunderstorm threat in place. Some 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts can't be ruled out as we're looking toward the Adel area over next little bit. It seems like some of the velocity signatures have weakened a little as they pulsed up here really bright for a few moments as we're getting between there about areas there south of Norman Park toward areas on Ellington. But you can see as I'm kind of looping this around here, this warning goes for a while. Those things could still maybe re-strengthen. I know our instability kind of slacks off some as we get over toward the east a bit, though, which could be a good limiting factor. But we'll keep watching things here in the Weather Center. Let's go ahead and go to our broad perspective here. You see cool air toward the east. It's been kind of rainy and not really allowing for things to become more destabilized here as we're looking off toward the south and the east. But you can see that toward the eastern Big Bend, a different story. Temperatures there in the mid to upper 90s across parts of the Big Bend in general, and some of those instability values over 5,000 joules per kilogram there as we're getting to words like Taylor and areas there on Madison counties. So just kind of giving you guys an update there. But right now it's a very thunderstorm warning in play in south central Georgia 5:30. As we're looking toward the Big Bend, it's also worth noting some of the model guidance is developing some stuff down there later on. Looking at SPC Outlook, it kind of shows that potential out there. They removed the SPC Storm Prediction Center has removed the rest further off toward the east, which is some good news. I know we do have a strong storm toward Flagler County, though. We'll keep watching that for the next little bit, but that's to be out of the area and out into the water here pretty soon, it would seem. We had some strong storms in north central Florida earlier on. Not seeing that at this point, though, which is some good news. But we'll just keep looking at our Doppler technology. This super thunderstorm warning is a pretty big one that's still in play in terms of the geography until about 5:30. So trying to get the latest information here on exactly what's going on. Let me go ahead and keep checking some of the different sources that we have here at our disposal, just trying to make sure we stay on top of things. At 4:09, a severe thunderstorm was located 8 miles southwest of Sparks, 3 miles west of Adel, moving southeast at 35 miles an hour. Nashville, Adel, Valdosta, Lakeland, Lake Park, Moultrie, Hahira, Sparks, Ray City, Lenox, I-75 at exit 16, Moody Air Force Base, Bremerton, Meigs, Dasher, over toward Berlin, Cecil, Ellington, Green Beetle State Park there as well. So we'll just have to keep on watching things here, keep on tracking things. I'm hoping that this gets into some of that cool air this a weekend off, and this warning won't go all the way toward 5:30. But right now, still seeing some pretty bright pixels in here. We were seeing pixels well into the 60 range a few minutes ago after this warning had just been issued. But now I see in a situation where we're getting more mid 50s, but still, this is heading to more populated areas here as we're getting into Cook County here in pretty short order. So that's something that we'll have to just be mindful of here as we're looking toward an I-75 corridor. Folks maybe traveling for the weekend or just traveling home from work on a Friday here could get impacted in pretty short order. So got to be kind of careful here whenever thunder is going doors. Of course, for any thunderstorm type of threat, we could have some damaging winds in here. Those aren't out of the equation, out of the question here at this present time, and they kind of back this on up. You can see how I had the really bright pixels. I know at first we were going to just kind of try to see if that held together for a few frames before we decided if we needed to come on or not. And that's ended up being what we did here, and we saw that hold together. So we just had to jump here into a live stream to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. It seems like I'm still seeing some bright pixels in here towards 60 miles an hour with some of these stronger wind values of potential in here. So we just have to be kind of mindful of some nasty weather conditions here toward parts of south central Georgia. So again, severe thunderstorm warning. We hadn't had really those around as much here lately. Last few days, seeing kind of less of those in play, but now seeing an escalation and uptick here on this Friday. So again, just gonna keep on tracking things here in the weather center for the next little bit. Hopefully, again, the cool air, relatively cool air to the east will help kind of weaken this out. That'll be some good news here as we look at things. As we look at things here in the weather center, but you see 84 toward Homerville, 82 toward Waycross, but still look at that 98 in Tallahassee there, 97 in the Quincy area in Gadsden County, 98 around Bainbridge. So again, this got to be kind of careful as this gets in more populated areas. I know it's a pretty rural areas there as this warning got issued. The brighter winds there really showing up. As you see here, this is right before the warning got issued at about 3:50. Already seeing maybe some severe winds just south of Norman Park. I see in that pattern there at about 3:53 there. And then you see the warning come on the board. Some really strong winds showing up there between Norman Park and Allenton. And then still headed toward Allenton there by about 4:03. And then now you're seeing those kind of hold together here, that potential to some degree hold together as these kind of get down here, and they'll be crossing Interstate 75 here over the next little bit. Just kind of trying to get an idea of exactly what way they're moving, maybe a little bit more southerly. So maybe closer towards Seasonny Higher even. That could be an area that could be in line here for some danger as we get ahead here a little bit later on. So let me go ahead and put our lightning tracker on right now. You can see some of the lightning that's in play. Definitely, whenever thunder roars, you want to go indoors in these type of situations and these type of setups. So again, just continuing to watch things here as the timeline does go along. Just trying to give you guys a heads up on exactly what is going on here as we get a little bit later on in toward that time frame. You can see here, just watching the Doppler right now. If there's any questions from any of the viewers at home, maybe that'd be kind of interesting to get a gauge on. I don't see anything right now though, but we'll just keep checking here for the very latest updates as that situation does continue to progress. You see a little bit more of a reinforcement now within these winds. They look like they might hold together a little bit longer now here. Versus, I was kind of hoping maybe the pattern was going to be one where this would kind of fade pretty quick, but no, it looks like this might have some staying power here as we get a little bit tighter. See, winds about 64 miles an hour here that are going to be crossing over State Road 76 and then toward I-75 here pretty quickly. So moving there to direction southeast at 35 miles an hour. So again, a severe thunderstorm warning in place. Some very strong winds in here. You see, looking there, getting just into where Cook County, Georgia. That's Colquitt County. This is Cook County, only looking about 2,000 feet up, and we see some pretty nasty winds here showing up in the Doppler algorithms. So, again, that's kind of the storyline right now. You see part of southern Cook County here going to have some problems with those winds seemingly strengthening on us here again. So, again, just trying to give you guys the very latest. The warning continuing till 5:30. The warning continuing till 5:30 for those gusts to be 60 miles an hour. So let me go ahead and check to see if we have anything new from the power outage side of things. And we'll go ahead and go to poweroutage.us to see if we're getting any preliminary outages there, maybe toward Colquitt County. That'd be kind of interesting to see here, get a handle on, get an idea of if there's any early outages there as we get toward Colquitt County, as this threat really starts to evolve now more into toward Cook County, Georgia. So, again, it's all about keeping our local area safe, though. And I'll go ahead and remind you guys of our coverage area here as you're just tuning in. You're just tuning in here this afternoon. You want to know exactly what is going on here, and you can see we're in Bradford County, North Central Florida. We had some stronger storms around earlier to the south in general, but now a severe storm here in play in South Central Georgia. Instability not near as much to the east as we get further on over, but So something to watch. I know I had some gusty winds in Duval County earlier on too. Storm in Flagler has been pretty strong, but this is the first severe warning storm of the day here. As we're looking at things at different times, we've had a different threat. I see Mitchell County 288 customers in the dark. In the state of Georgia, Colquitt County only one was showing up at about 4 o'clock, 4:10 as being in the dark. But let me check Georgia Power to see if there's any new updates maybe that we can kind of pass along to you guys, the viewer at home. Okay, so Moultrie now looks like as we get on into where some of the different areas, trying to give you a number here about how many folks could be in the dark. It looks like less than 5, so that's a good sign, but it's early on here. You just never know how it may take a few moments to get the numbers to kind of adjust on us here, update on us as the timeline does continue. So we're just going to keep watching. Back to the Doppler radar we go. I'm going to keep checking the numbers here though. Behind the scenes, as you see our wind mode here, the strongest winds right in here as I put my mouse on the screen. Those are east of Berlin, southwest of Adel. They're kind of moving off toward the south and the east. I see some at Hira, maybe the south side of Adel, getting into some of this too, but kind of just as you're headed out of town, I would think. Here, they look at the geography of things. That's where your worst threat would be. So let's just keep checking all the latest data that streams on in here to the information center per se, though. Into the weather center, we're just going to keep on looking at things here and trying to watch. So you see just winds that are still ongoing here. They're not really letting up at this point, unfortunately. So let's go ahead and just keep checking all the latest details. I know we're checking those Georgia power outage numbers some more toward Colquitt County. I'm gonna see if I can get some of the latest information on in here, some of the latest information on in, and see if we have anything new, maybe on Grady EMC or Mitchell EMC, some different electric providers in the area. They might be able to give us an idea here on what's happening, on what's going on. Let's just kind of see here the overall situation that we're dealing with, and we're just going to keep watching here as that timeline does progress. See how it's cooled off toward parts of Colquitt County at this point, which is some good news. It's cooled on off there toward parts of Colquitt County there, and they're down to 77 degrees. Looking at some more power outage information right now, just trying to get the very latest on what's going on. It looks like right now I'm not seeing too many customers in the dark on some other providers there, like what I was just alluding to, Grady EMC. Let me see if we have anything there on the other provider that I was alluding to in Colquitt County that shows up here, Mitchell EMC. Let me see if there's anything showing up over there. Okay, 8 active outages, 290 members in the dark on that one. So a few customers there in the dark. It looks like most of those are clustered there from earlier on, from Flint up toward Baconton. So not necessarily here right where we're at with the severe storm at this point, but going back earlier on in the timeline as we look at things. So some really strong winds that's showing up here right along State Road 76, Georgia 76 right now in south central Georgia. We're going to keep on tracking that. I know in the word areas further down to the southeast, a strong storm in play. And toward the Flagler County area, we have some winds that could be getting to around 40 miles an hour. Getting the more rural spots in the county there, that gets more toward Volusia, maybe even a little bit of a area weak rotation. We'll try to evolve on that here a little bit further as we look ahead. But right now, we're watching more about south central Georgia here with the concern of these stronger straight line winds. That seems to be the biggest concern point here, the biggest level of concern along this type of line here of storminess moving on in. So again, just going to keep on tracking things, going to keep on watching things here in the weather center. So the thunderstorm at 4:09 was located 8 miles southwest of Sparks, or 8 miles west of Adel, moving southeast at 35 miles an hour. Nashville, Adel, Valdosta, Lakeland, Lake Park, Moultrie, Hahira, Sparks, Ray City, Lenox, I-75 at exit 16, Moody Air Force Base, Rummerton, Meigs, Dasher, Berlin, Cecil, Allenton, and Reed Beaton State Park. Reed Beaton State Park there under this threat. So, seeing another area of wind maximum set up now west of Barney. Those winds set up near 60 as well now. Georgia 122 and Georgia 94 in there, and you see even Georgia 33. So some stronger, maybe severe winds happening now in northern Brooks County as well. This warning does include areas of Cook, Berry, and Lanier, Lowndes, Brooks, and Colquitt for another hour and 6 minutes or so, it seems. Unless we start getting a weakening trend, we may, because this will be headed into more cooler air here eventually. But right now, it's doing a very favorable air mass to get these winds here to above, be more significant here and be damaging. I know we were talking about a situation here yesterday. We thought we might have more severe concern toward the east. That threat kind of weakening up some because we ended up having some rain around that was able to kind of keep things a little bit cooler. But as we look toward the west here, and talking about earlier rain, just is a more broad rain pattern. You weren't able to destabilize as much, but to the west, a different story. These temperatures are just almost off the charts. 97 Decatur County, 96 Seminole County right now, 97 Gadsden, 98 Leon. So those are some favorable temperatures here, a favorable setup for maybe storms later, based on some of the latest model guidance to develop from southwest Georgia through the Big Bend of Florida. Could have some severe weather later on there, so be mindful of that. We'll have to be maybe coming on for that potential as that does develop. But this one rogue area here of danger really setting up right now in south central Georgia. At 4:25, as we get a new update from the Weather Service, a severe thunderstorm was located 7 miles west of Hahira, 9 miles southwest of Adel, moving southeast at 35 miles an hour. So Nashville, Lakeland, Adel, Valdosta, Lake Park, Hahira, Sparks, Ray City, Lenox, I-75 at exit 16, Moody Air Force Base, Rummerton, Meigs, Dasher, Cecil, Barris, New Lois, Massey, and Greg's here all under this threat. So again, just going to keep tracking this here. Gotta keep watching this to try to protect you, your friends, and your family. I don't see a lot in the way of rotation right now. Maybe just a tad on that flank there as we get there, just west of State Road 33. But right now, nothing really overwhelming, but the straight line winds. As we look there, you have those winds really coming together now. That's really looking serious there. That might get us to a considerable warning pretty soon. Near State Road, it looks like 94, door to 94 here. We're now seeing winds over 70 miles an hour. We're approaching hurricane force winds now, a possibility as we're getting just southwest of Barney, Georgia here in northern parts of Brooks County. We have 2 maximums now of wind damage danger here. Excuse me, as we continue to watch. You can see one of these here close towards State Road 94, and then the other here west of Cecil. Those went to 66 as well now, so at least for the next little bit, we've got to be really careful here in toward this area. Got to be really careful in toward these 2 different spots within the polygon. And we even here, this would, in theory, might have a chance here to rotate on us just a bit. So we got to watch southwest of Barney, just in case we start getting some more reds in here. I think I just rotated for 1 scan, and it's not going to really come into play too much rotation, but there's a little bit of an impedance here. We're getting some of those stronger winds to rapidly develop, so we just have to be kind of mindful here as they kind of zoom in and out and around here. I know we're kind of zooming back to the west a bit there. With that as well, and that strongest wind doesn't seem to quite match up there. It's more out here, out toward the east. So out toward again State Road 94, we're seeing some very strong winds. So up on the Doppler, it could be in excess of 70 miles an hour. That could cause power lines to fall, trees to fall, maybe even in an isolated instance, a power pole or 2 to get knocked down. So you just got to be kind of careful here with these type of conditions. With these type of conditions here in play. I know west of Cecil there, we're talking about winds closer to 65 miles an hour. So again, just going to keep on tracking things here. We're just trying to give you guys the very latest to protect you, your friends, and your family here on this Friday. I know you're trying to enjoy that weekend that's approaching or just starting, depending on what type of job you might have there, schedule you might be on. And unfortunately, in this part of the viewing area right now, you have to watch out for that storm threat. Again, nothing just like a tornado situation, but in some instances, we could have quite a bit of damage. So got to be careful here toward these spots. Again, watching toward Morven here with some stronger winds pop up. That latest scan kind of is pushing it a little more southerly now. A little more southerly toward the Morven area. And we got to be kind of careful there. Morven there. We have some stronger winds coming up. This keeps pushing too far south here. This area that might require new severe thunderstorm warning closer or equipment, east equipment there, maybe down in this corridor. And that'd be in the more favorable air masses. They'd be trying to push more into that warmer air, and that'd be a problem because we could end up having this stuff last maybe a lot longer in that case because we have 88 down here toward Live Oak, but 96 in the Perry area. But once you get in the mid-80s here, I know that sounds like a lot, but we should start, if this were to keep going in this direction here, and you see how cool it is out here relatively, if this heads more in this direction, it should weaken off here and not be severe after a while. But if it can dive more to the south here, then we could keep it severe for a long time. So we got to be careful. We could have more storms anyway, feeling bad toward the west, as we're starting to see some areas pop, and the models are indicating that. So just got to be careful here as we look at all the latest data. You can see there some bright areas here of wind set up in the velocity, our base velocity product here. As we try to give you guys the very latest, we try to give you guys the very latest here. How to protect you, protect your friends, and protect your family. Again, sticking with this right now. Because of that enhanced type of wind threat in this localized zone here in south central Georgia. So again, you see Hahira, Cecil there, and then you have Barney, Morven. Those are the areas that seemingly are greatest here in terms of the level of concern. Those are the areas at greatest risk here at this moment. So just got to be kind of careful as we're looking toward those spots here in the viewing circle. So let me go ahead and see if there are any questions, comments. I don't see anything right now, but just again, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me. See Adele versus Roy going just south of town, but you're going to be getting some heavy rain here, and depending on where you're at, either you're getting it now or about to be getting into it. But it seems like the worst of this would be down in this area here based on all of our wind assessments. Not even seeing too much lightning here to the north. There may be a little bit, not really kind of popping in here. It may be pretty renegade in nature, but there may be a little bit there. But as we look here toward the south, I know it could just pop up too with little or no advance warnings. That's why it's important to just be careful. You're under a warning. You really want to be inside and away from windows if you can be. But again, looking toward the south here around Morven. The latest scan, a little bit weaker, but still winds to about 60 miles an hour. Winds to about 60 miles an hour moving toward the Morven area. Winds there at about 60 here as we're looking southwest Hahira now. Cecil Hahira again, winds about 60 in this corridor as well. So again, just trying to point that out on the Interstate 75 zone there. This is where you have some wind danger. It could blow some vehicles around a little bit, especially those higher profile ones. Not necessarily blowing vehicles over. I mean, I suppose a very large semi here, if these winds are gusting a little bit higher than what the radar is showing, then we could have some issues with those. But I don't think we're going to really have those in general. But we'll continue to be careful here and make sure we give you the latest here. Those words of caution as we look here. You see around Morven. Just trying to give you guys the very latest there. I'm going to keep checking here all my different sources to see if we have any new updates, if we have any new power added numbers here. Let me go ahead and kind of give you guys the very latest. I know it's early August, so we're getting near the end, but we're not there yet of that summertime pattern where we have these storms just kind of pop up on us. I know we did give you a heads up last night, though. We thought we might even have a bigger risk here today, and we could still, for some of our counties toward Tallahassee, that risk toward the east, though, not going to really materialize, it doesn't look like, in terms of severe weather in general, because we had all that rain here that wasn't as heavy coming on through here to kind of stabilize things. But to the west, we're very, very destabilized. It's a tale of two areas in some ways. I mean, don't see this all that often, to be quite honest, in terms of just the big temperature contrast that we're dealing with from west to east, and that's going to affect how these storms have the potential here to fuel for the storms here for maybe later on, because I'll go ahead and go to that broad view again, since I've been on for a while, just kind of reassess here that broad perspective and recap things. You see we have some strong weather in Flagler County with no warnings down there, and you see how it's in the 70s, mid-70s, Gainesville, Palatka, Keystone. Let me look at my thermometer here. Looks like about 78 or so where we're at east of Stark. So again, it's cooled off enough here where it's going to be harder for the storms to really be able to thrive. 83 Waycross, 84 there, though, out toward the areas around Homerville. I know those temperatures, you start to have a little bit cooler areas, a little bit cooler even. 88, Moody Air Force Base, 90 Valdosta, but look at 98 around Tallahassee. If we're able to get the storms to pop there and kind of push south like some of our guidance is now indicating, in the Warden area, not so much to the east now, those could be severe. Those could be pretty robust. That's why there's a marginal risk out there, and not for Lake City or Stark or Jacksonville anymore. So that's just kind of the weather scenario that we're in. The severe threat has decreased pretty substantially here. I know it hadn't been that high, but I mean, 1 out of 5 this time of year is enough to make sure you're paying attention for sure, because things can definitely overachieve in that type of setup. Drop that risk toward the east, because we're not seeing the levels of destabilization that are really required here for these to thrive. But to the west, it's a different story. Again, you see our marginal 1 out of 5 risk there for some wind damage here. As we look ahead, hail not showing up, tornado not really showing up there either, but again, wind damage is a possibility. As we go to some of our infrared satellite products, you can see, again, that area there, the colder cloud tops moving toward the south and east there. Have some of those in synced on the Flagler, but again, those aren't going to be hanging around too much longer here in our viewing circle. But this area in southeast areas there, I mean, just that movement is what we're talking about. I was going to say southeast Georgia, but we're not really talking about southeast Georgia yet, south central. But again, we're talking about that movement there toward I-75. And let's see how we're with that now. It has weakened some, but don't let it guard down here. These winds could still cause damage. Right over 75, still winds to about 55 miles an hour showing up. That's an advantage that we have. We're right there at a pretty low level with the radar. The radar is down here at Moody Air Force Base. And then you have that view, so we're able to get a good look at it. Sometimes we can underdo it when it's too close. These numbers here aren't enough to lay your guard down with, because 50-55, these could still be causing some damage here based on this type of scan at this low level. From about C-Sunny High, we saw a new update now, seeing 57 still, right around US 41. So this may not be indicating much weakening, because we're looking at such a low level. It may be weakening a bit, but not enough that it couldn't still cause damage. Damage is still a possibility. And here again, C-Sunny High and somewhat there east of Morven as well. And in the Morven area, I think, too. I mean, could still have some of that lingering there. So can't lay your guard down. They saw how we had that wind enhancement come right through Morven there over the last few moments. So again, some nasty weather moving through on a Friday afternoon. You're trying to enjoy that weekend. Unfortunately, for a few folks, it's disrupting it, disrupting your plans here. As we go back to the broad perspective, I know a lot of areas are staying dry though at this point. Very hot though, very hot as we get toward Tallahassee. Those heat index values, they could be higher or not as humid, and just some of those different metrics aren't coming up quite as high as they could, but not a situation where we have a heat advisory in play despite it being 98, which isn't always the case around here. So that's something that's kind of worth noting for sure. But again, just continuing to watch here, continuing to give you the latest updates on the situation in general, the situation at large. Again, we're sitting at 4:38 here with the time right now. Just checking all the different sources here at our disposal. And we're going to keep looking here. Keep looking at the very latest. Let me get back on in here to South Central Georgia. See here, some pretty strong winds coming right across town there right now. Again, trying just to see exactly what is going on there. Make sure you're inside away from windows, because this is a type of wind here that could cause some problems for you. I mean, in terms of maybe, in an occasional instance, we could have maybe a tree limb come through a window, something like that. So, gotta be kind of careful here in this type of scenario with these stronger winds coming there, C3 higher, especially as we're getting the latest scan on in right now. Getting the latest scan on in. So let me go ahead and just keep looking at things here. We're sitting 439 right now. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch are live with the coverage, like we always are when it's required here. And we have a danger in play. Of course, all tornado warnings were on for when they moved to the tornado warning storms moved to the 62 counties. But then these severe thunderstorm warnings would play by ear for we use our discretion. And right now we're having to be on because of the threat here is pretty nasty looking here. Once the warning got into play there across South Central Georgia, seeing the numbers really get up there in a big polygon, a long-lasting polygon. Hopefully it doesn't last all the way to 5:30, but that's a very long warning in terms of time here. But we're still seeing some strong winds as they go between some of the different tilts. Seeing a 57-mile-an-hour wind showing up in here right now. It's, they could very well be getting down to the surface and causing some damage in and around Hahira right now. You see some of these winds here. These are moving toward Valdosta, so they may want to keep this here as it gets toward Valdosta still. You see the Moody Air Force Base area and just that general vicinity. They may keep this a little longer just in case, because these winds at a pretty low level are still pretty high overall. So let's go ahead and check here. I know these are your temperatures. Let's go ahead and put the winds on so we can get some updated numbers with these. Hopefully we don't see too much popping up. We did get, I guess, 32 there in Moultrie Municipal Airport at 55 past 3. So that's something to kind of take note of. And you see some lightning in here still. Again, that doesn't vary based on distance from the radar, obviously. So I know here we're in a loop, so it's not going to all the previous ones. But we're just going to keep watching these trends here for the electrical energy. There may be a little bit less of it than there was earlier, but it's hard to say for sure. Hopefully that's a positive sign. Let me check another source to see. And I think it has dropped a little bit, the lightning, but it's not enough to really be letting your guard down, because whenever thunder roars, you got to go indoors in these type of situations. So again, looking at some of our different modes, just look at 1 hour rainfall. You see some areas here about an inch of rain. Berlin, Barney, Morven in there, some of those higher amounts. And that stuff, that axis moving down here closer toward the south and east right now. As we zoom on out, you don't see too many other high gusts, but as we get there, you can see around here higher up, looking there at some stronger winds. And you see there, north side, maybe a Valdosta really getting some winds in the 50 range there. Just kind of getting closer toward the downtown here, maybe over the next little bit as they push on down to the south and east. Not quite there yet, though, of course, but we're just going to keep on looking here of all of our different scans. Okay, they're continuing the warning now. They just sent out another update of the weather service in Tallahassee. So let's see here what they're telling us. Again, giving us the very latest on what's going on at 442. Severe thunderstorms looking at a lot of line extending from near Sparks to near I-75 and exit 16, moving east, but there is a southerly component as well. 25 miles an hour. Nashville, Lakeland, Valdosta, Dale, Lake Park, Hahira, Ray City, Lenox, I-75 exit 16, Moody Air Force Base, Bremerton, Meigs, Dasher, Morven, Cecil, Barretts, New Lois, Massey, Hansel, as well as Allenville. So again, I just kind of keep on checking here everything. You still see some of the winds holding together there. Getting in and out here in the view, that says around State Road 122 with some stronger winds. So I just don't want to be caught out there without shelter at this point. You can't be messing around here in these type of situations. So, again, checking for the latest updates, going using all our different resources here to give you guys the latest. We're just trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on here, because that's what it's all about here at Cloud to Weather. We're just trying to make sure you guys have everything that you need here. So, again, some stronger winds showing up there on higher up. Winds there closer to Valdosta, getting up there too on the scale. So just have to be kind of careful here as we're looking at things. Again, just everybody that's watching here, thanks so much for tuning in and trusting me on this Friday afternoon with our local storms covering our 62 counties. We have this thread around here. It's not our focus in terms of the national weather, but there are some national storylines that have been pretty prominent here today as well. We'll jump over to those just really quick. There's been some flash flood emergency type of scenarios setting up there around parts of the heartland this morning, Kentucky and Tennessee, Union City in there. We also had areas around Hickman, some real dangers setting on up there with a lot of rain last 12 hours. You can see, looking at those rainfall totals there, several inches. I mean, inch after inch came on down there. Just a catastrophic situation, that catastrophic threat for some folks. The Northeast, we have some current warnings. Let's go ahead and see some of these. Around Albany, New York, you have some warnings to the south and west. You can see some areas there, New Hampshire, Vermont, under warnings as well. And we'll just have to keep watching. There were a couple tornado warnings earlier up that way. Of course, looking at some of our different information, zooming in and out, there is a risk here of some tornadic activity later on toward parts of Missouri here. As we're looking ahead in the timeline, Kansas City to Columbia there, the University of Missouri there under that. As we look ahead here, the threat not getting as high to the east, but there will still be some severe threat to the east, as you saw there real quick on the marginal. You see how hot it is in Texas, by the way. I'll move that back just for a second. Over 100 in the triple digits there still. It's been a really nasty pattern there toward the Lone Star State with that heat. And then as you see here, just continuing to give you guys more information here. Let me go ahead and zoom on in. Again, getting a report of a gust to 46 miles an hour, around 440 there. It looks like from an ambient weather station. So, again, that's this information we're receiving into the Weather Center right now. A gust to about 46 miles an hour. I was there around 4:40 p.m. in Brooks County, 3 miles southwest of I-75 at exit 22. So, again, this is information we're tracking right now. We're trying to see exactly what's happening here. Let me get back. That was on the edge, by the way, so let's go over this. See, that's on the edge right down here. You can see here on the periphery, so some of these winds could be a little bit stronger in here. Points maybe a little bit more prone to causing some power outages. So, again, that's kind of a storyline there. Just got to be kind of careful what we're dealing with. Careful here in these regards as we're looking at some of our latest information. So, again, let me see what else we might have here at this present time. Let me go ahead and zoom back out just a bit. You can see there's east of Adel, some stronger storms in that area as well. Maybe some nasty weather down there as we're getting toward, I see rate 76, but the severe threats higher to the south, it would seem at this point, based on the indications that we're getting. I know we have some different things coming across to the boundaries. These could be an issue here if we get some development more so out here with the heating of the day in play. Could really cause some issues later. So, gotta be mindful of that. I know as we look ahead here in that timeline, I know you see how we had the day 2 risk there yesterday for today, but no, right now, day 2 risk for tomorrow, it doesn't look like here. for counties. Let me double check that just to make sure our system and myself have everything right with that. Yeah, no day 2 for tomorrow here. As we're looking at this point, but still some stronger weather possible. Maybe some severe storms possible too. But I know they're looking at the ward areas like Wichita and Omaha tomorrow. We're going to be watching a threat for some severe thunderstorms as well. And maybe even an isolated tornado around Omaha, Sioux Falls, and even to the east around Evansville, Indiana, Louisville, Kentucky, Indianapolis there. As you're looking, and as we're looking towards Sunday, severe threat there from southeast Missouri through Illinois and Wisconsin and Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky. And then as we're looking the day after that, we have a threat of severe weather over toward Philadelphia. You have Buffalo in there. You have Charleston, West Virginia in there. And Roanoke, Virginia, just among some of the spots. So, again, just going to keep checking things here in the Weather Center, trying to give you guys the very latest. You see east of Hira there, State Road 122, seeing some stronger winds in that area right now. So that's not matching up as well with reflectivity. I'm hoping these storms are going to start the weekend, especially if they get more into the core air mass that we've outlined here. We've talked about it. Again, the latest temperature updates here from the various thermometers you'll be able to see here. This is hitting into a core pattern. I mean, you have 90 there as we're looking toward Valdosta Airport, but as we're getting toward areas like Eccles and Hamilton and Columbia, and we're down in the 80s, 70s, I mean, where we're at. So it's cool, and it's still cloudy, so it's going to be harder in some of these spots to destabilize here for this storminess to become more prominent or significant here on it. I'll see what I'm talking about with the clouds. Let's jump on over here. You see how we have those clouds here? They're just kind of holding things down toward the east. So that's the good news here. It's like a cap here at this point. You have some nasty weather in Flagler County, but that's again something that's just as we're looking there. That's becoming less of an issue as we get later in the timeline for our area. Daytona Beach, Volusia County, a different story, but again, just going to keep tracking things, going to keep checking here exactly what's going on. And let me go ahead and just keep on looking at our different numbers here. Excuse me, as they get the latest on in. Been talking a little while at this point, but again, I'm just trying to give you guys the very latest here. And we're going to go ahead. I know you see the temperature's warmer down towards central Florida, but as we look here toward south central Georgia, we're going to jump on over here right now. Valdosta, some stronger winds set up around I-75 now, closer to 50 miles an hour here. Around Interstate 75, you can see around 50 around areas there north of Valdosta, between there and Barrett. So something to kind of bear in mind as well. And as we look over just at the general pattern again, just continuing to watch things here, continuing to give you guys the latest updates on what's going on. We're going to broaden that view out, and we're going to see here at 98 in Tallahassee. Again, feeling more like 109 though. A very toasty day out that way. Toasty day in Central and South Florida. Ignore that one remarkably. That's incorrect information that's coming on in there. But as we're looking there, you can kind of see just how we have it a little bit cooler. North Central Florida, the first coast, Southeast Georgia. And that reduces your strong and severe thunderstorm risk here as we're looking ahead in the timeline, especially the severe. We have had some strong thunderstorms today, don't get me wrong. But, I mean, we kind of had that from the air mass that cooled things off to begin with. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But again, I'm just going to keep watching. You see some stuff there in Alabama as well. Let's kind of go to our model here. I know we can go to it a couple different ways. I'm going to go to it a more traditional way on this source. We have our other source that I went to last night. It's the same model, but a different run of it. So it's going to obviously show quite a bit different situation. It's supposed to be 6 o'clock here. Let's see. That's interesting. I'll make sure it's set up right, because earlier on I've seen a lot different picture. Are we going to get stuff to develop? Okay, well, we are finally, but it's not still in Tallahassee on this latest run like it was earlier on, actually. So that's kind of surprising, actually. It's showing it more scattered and more renegade out there as we see some stuff late. That's 2 in the morning there. Maybe some development then, but it's not always showing it as organized maybe You have that one storm that's severe. It says it's fading, which I do agree with that. But I suspect we'll have stuff going a little bit earlier on, and that could lead to some more warnings here as we're looking to orders around the Big Bend. Let's go back to, yeah, this is a run before. You see how things really filled in by 9 o'clock tonight. Maybe even earlier than that. We'll have some stuff that's strong and severe in there. So we'll have to watch it. That was your model. Let's go back to the current view. I don't want to confuse you guys too much here. I don't want to confuse you at all. But just when we're switching back between model and radar, they can get a little bit tricky sometimes. But again, just trying to give you guys the very latest information here to protect you, your friends, your family here from the Weather Center. Again, our risk for severe weather. We're going to be watching areas off toward the west there, more so with that 3. See some development there as we're looking there right now in parts of Grady County around Cairo. We'll keep watching that, obviously. And let me just go ahead and see if there's anything else. I do see, again, just some viewers like Top Cat thanking me here for the coverage. I appreciate you guys watching there at home as well, or wherever you're at. Maybe on the go, maybe you're watching on mobile, there in that YouTube app, or if you're on your Roku device, you can watch on Roku. Some of those connected devices there as well. So again, I'm just giving you guys the latest here, trying to keep you guys safe. So again, there you go with all the different sources that we're on. Facebook, Casey Cloud WX, Cloud Weather, Twitter at Cloud Casey. You have different sources like YouTube there as well, Twitch, website. So just trying to give you guys the very latest here. Trying to let you guys know exactly how to watch and keep tabs on the inclement and in some cases severe weather situations that do arise. So let's go ahead here and check what else we might have right now. This is over Valdosta, over part of Lowndes County right now. You can see here we go back to the Doppler. We go back to that Doppler there. We're going to go ahead and keep checking here the very latest. And you do see some winds there in the 50 range still, right near the radar. So even though these look a little weaker, they may not really be that much weaker toward the surface. So it's kind of hard to want to let your guard down here or say that it's diminishing some. Those are still pretty strong winds anyway. I'm looking, I don't see too many power outages so far, but may still take a minute for some of this information to trickle in. Hopefully we're not getting too many. But sometimes this in South Georgia, South Central Georgia, and just areas in between them, and goes for a lot of our area, really. We sometimes have a bit of a struggle trying to get the latest power outage numbers in. Don't know if there's been damage and more outages, maybe sometimes even after until we get off. I mean, and that makes it hard for us to know how damaging the storm was. But I'm not seeing many outages at all so far, so that's good. 11 around Valdosta on looks like Georgia Power, less than 5 as we're getting between CISO and higher in terms of customers in the dark, and same between Barney and Morven. But you just never know here in this type of setup. I know it looked a little weird at first when it developed, but we weren't sure at that very first moment there if this was really getting that wind to the surface. But then it just got so significant looking on radar, we thought we had to jump on here. It happened pretty quick there, so that's why we jumped in instead of just posting the warning like we would sometimes based on the different criteria here that we have in the Weather Center. But again, just continuing to give you guys the very latest here on what's going on, trying to keep tabs on everything, and trying to just make sure you guys know what's going on. I see Vermont there, seeing a report of some considerable flash flood threat there. Okay, so Jacksonville is issued a significant weather advisory now until 6 o'clock for areas downstream. So right now, Jacksonville may be leading against issuing a severe thunderstorm warning. They're seeing 45 to 55 mile an hour winds, but these storms could still intensify. That makes sense based on the instability values here. We'll continue to watch this. Al Sandrick there sending that out. 456, Doppler radar is tracking strong thunderstorms along the line extending from near Nashville and near I-75 exit 16, with southeast at 25 miles an hour. So wind gusts to 45 to 55 miles an hour. Penny-size hail, Homerville, over towards Staytonville, DuPont, DuPont actually, not DuPont. I've been doing too much summertime weather coverage, I guess, but DuPont there in Mayday there. So these storms may intensify, so be certain to monitor local radio stations and available television stations for those additional informational details and possible warnings from the National Weather Service. Of course, you can keep an eye on us here as well in the Cloud Weather Center. But again, just continue to monitor things here. Continue to give you guys, that's what we're doing, continuing to give you guys the latest. So again, let me look here. That warning got continued by the Tallahassee office just a moment ago. So let me go ahead and see what they're telling us here. Severe thunderstorm warning number 492 of the year issued by the Tallahassee office here over the last little bit at 4:57. A severe thunderstorm warning remains in effect until 5:30 for southeastern Cook, southern Berry and Lanier, central Lowndes, and east central Brooks counties. So we're talking about locations along the line from near Nashville, I-75 and exit 16, moving southeast at 35. Nashville, Lakeland, Valdosta, Lake Park, Ray City, over to I-75 and exit 16 with the Air Force Base, Rimerton, Meigs, Dasher, Barrett, New Lois, Massey, Hansel, Allenville, I-75 and exit 11, Teeterville, Naylor. You kind of get the idea from the different areas there with that type of threat. So again, let me just keep checking here. I'm trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on. So just bear with me here as I try to give you guys everything you need. Everything you need. I know that weather warning there, severe thunderstorm warning being updated and issued instantly as well by Donald Van Dyke there, the National Weather Service in Tallahassee. So again, just continuing to give you guys a look at everything that's going on. I know it's going to be out of the warning pretty soon. Again, right now, Al Sanders going with the advisory there at the Jacksonville office. That looks like the right call here at this point based on the instability values going down, but they can always upgrade it if they feel like it's necessary here. If this risk does look like it maybe is a little more maximized as it gets to the east, but it seems like the instability and those overall conditions would weaken on off some as we get off toward the east. I see surface-based Cape there. It is up there toward 3,500 joules per kilogram, but I know this is not something that's overwhelming necessarily. As we're looking at the grand scheme of things, you see that yellow area, more of a departure, lessening of those values toward north central, northeast Florida with what we had earlier on. But I see 85 Homerville, but then as we look at things, I'm going to see if I can put temperature, just give me an estimate of these. But yeah, you see how we've had a really hot temperature. Look at that, 100 there toward Crestview. That's the air temperature from the center. 98 Tallahassee, 91 around Thomasville, but mid 80s here, and then lower 80s as we get further off. So that should help decrease the overall potential for this storm here. But you just never know. That's still enough to maybe try to maintain things if these winds are actually severe down to the surface. Maybe they get maintained a little bit longer here. We'll just have to wait and see. So we're just going to keep looking at things here on our different scans. Trying to give you guys the very latest here at home. Lanier County west of Lakeland there. Winds to about 40 miles an hour at the lower levels. It looks like winds closer to, I mean, it could be up to 50 in here. It's just the radar's showing a little less, but it's really close to the radar, so sometimes things get obscured just a little bit. So it's a situation here right now. We're going to have to keep watching. Let me see our Tallahassee radar, see what it's showing, because it's higher up on this stuff, and it is going up there a little bit with this, but yeah, not really severe winds showing up there right now, and that would make the most sense in this. But then the Jackson radar higher up is showing severe winds, showing that severe thunderstorm wind potential. So just never know here for sure, but I would kind of lean toward a high-end, significantly advisory situation here at this point. That's what's in play with the Jacksonville office. So again, pretty high end there, 45 to 55 on that. I think they can do 50 to 55 or just up in that range as well. It's about as high end as you can get there with those. They have 40 as well. That's another option they have. They have 50 There's a few different options they have in their toolkit there with the significant other advisories. So, again, we're just going to keep looking at things here, giving you guys the very latest. So let's just keep giving you guys everything you need to know. The other day we had that situation in Bradford County where it was hard to tell exactly what was going on, and unfortunately had things overachieve on us there on Tuesday night, having those damage reports come on out for Bradford County Fire Rescue, reporting those instances of damage. 911 dispatch there, Bradford County Sheriff's Office dispatch there, indicating some different points. We had some road obstructions. We had issues with we did have warning in play Sunday night, and we had some issues into the flooding. We had some power outages set on up as well, and just some issues there in general, causing there was some problems here across the area. So we're trying to stay on top of all that here. Stay on top of all that for you guys in the Weather Center. And as I look right now here, it looks like a tree was down in this event, this instance here in Brooks County, 3 miles west-northwest of Morven, around 424 on Cooper Road. So, again, that was from around 40 minutes ago or so. A tree was downed, according to the 911 call center, around 425 on Cooper Road. So, again, that's information just coming on in here right now to the Weather Center. You can see that icon there popping up west of I-75 and west of Ahira there. So some of the storminess we have had now some damage, at least hopefully nothing overwhelming or too significant. But again, just worth noting here for sure. Definitely just kind of worth passing along here to the viewer at home. So again, let me go ahead and look. You see some of that. They're moving more toward the next area now out of the warning. But in the north, we still have some winds that were showing up a bit stronger. It looked like they're on our scan, moving west of Lakeland there in Lanier County. So don't be letting your guard down around Lanier County here. Over the next little bit, could still have some stronger winds in there in toward that area. But again, it would seem to be more on the edge of that 45 to 55 there. In toward that type of level there versus those winds getting closer to the official damage and range. But it didn't always take severe wind or a severe storm to cause problems. We can have lightning that can be dangerous, not deadly, in a strong or just even a regular thunderstorm. And then you have the winds. It didn't always take officially 58 or around to 60 to actually have damage from the wind. You can have damage there in those numbers, and with those numbers there in the 40s and the 50s there that are below 58 as well. So you just kind of bear that in mind. It's kind of relative here. I mean, certain trees might be more vulnerable to coming down in lesser conditions, or limbs of lines, power lines. It's not always about 58, but it's just when you get there, things increase exponentially there. Really, just kind of like earthquake, the magnitude of earthquake, things really go up exponentially in those type of situations. So, again, we're just going to keep watching this morning. Officially goes for the 23 minutes. Not sure if we're going to keep that here that long or stay on for that much longer, but let me go ahead and see what's going on here. So they are going to go and cancel Brooks and Cook, but keep Berry and Lanier and Lowndes now. That's the latest update from the Tallahassee office there. Latest update from the Tallahassee office. And let me go ahead and see what we have here. So this will appear on your screen in just a second. That latest update there, 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So we have areas of Cook and Brooks out of it, but Berry and Lanier and Lowndes at 5:06. If a thunderstorms are located along a line extending from near Ray City to near Lake Park, moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. So again, that's kind of the storyline there right now. Again, trying to keep an eye on those different areas here that are around the viewing circle. I'm just going to keep checking everything that we have here. So we're talking about, again, areas like Nashville, Lakeland, Lake Park, Podesta, Race City, Moody Air Force Base, Meigs, Dasher, Naylor, Marion County Airport, Greenwood, Barrett, Hansel, Allenville, Stockton, Teeterville, New Lois under this. The storm moving southeast at 30 miles an hour. Again, trying to watch this moving. It seems like it's almost wanting to move more east, which would get into the cool air mass to some degree. Not, I mean, as cool as directly southeast, but if it's moving just due south, then it would stay in a pretty warm air mass. So this is the most favorable it could get down here. This is a little favorable. This is the less favored here. So a little favorable, but I wouldn't really think it'd be able to be too significant because 81 to 83 is a little bit cooler and you have more of that atmosphere that's been worked over here in some regard today. So the cloud covers around, and that should help preclude some things from really being as active. But again, I'm just continuing to watch things there. We're just going to go ahead and keep on checking here the situation in general. Let me go ahead and keep giving you guys the latest metrics on things. Let me go ahead and see if there's anything else we need to pass along to you guys. I'll check some of the power outage numbers again. I'm going to go ahead and try to get on over there in just a second. Don't see any questions from any of the viewers right now. But again, just thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here on this Friday, on this August 4th, 2023. So, again, just trying to see here what's going on. I see a few power outages toward Leon County, by the way. A little over 1,000 customers in the dark. May just be because of the heat. Not really sure there. Let me go ahead and kind of check here on some things. Don't really see too much in terms of anything there on the Doppler, but you just never know sometimes as we're looking there. As we're looking at some of our different areas here, some of the different communities with the outages. And then I'm going to go ahead and see here if there's anything else in Georgia to pass along. Mitchell County, 290 customers, 1 in Colquitt. 12 in Lowndes there. So nothing overwhelming. We'll keep on checking things, obviously. We'll keep on trying to give you guys the very latest on what's going on here from the Weather Center. So, again, sitting here right now at 5:10 here on this Friday. As we get into the evening of that rush hour commute, things being impacted here to some degree. So that's something to kind of bear in mind. Again, this is a thunderstorm warning still in effect for now. As you see some of the different precautions that we have here that you want to be taking. So again, stay away from those windows in these type of situations. It's really important, as being in a Sidus 30 building to begin with. Though, we have these winds that are getting up there. And then, of course, whenever there's just thunder in general, when there's lightning in play, you got to remember whenever that roar happens, just go indoors. Because that lightning can be dangerous, if not deadly, even in just a regular thunderstorm. Doesn't have to be strong or severe. So, see around Lakeland, some stronger winds may be coming into town there now. Looks like on the order of about 40 miles an hour, but it could be stronger than that. Stockton here, you have Naylor. This is kind of more towards Statenville at this point, though, to the southern flank. So that's the good news, that no new warning's been issued down that way. Again, we'll be checking things here, trying to give you guys the latest. You can see around Lakeland, winds there in near county, trying to get down toward the surface. Some of these getting closer toward maybe Homerville next little bit. Hopefully, won't have to still be on here too much longer. They'll probably be a little bit lesser on that level here in terms of the warning not having to be in play as we look toward the east. And it may not be too much different than what we're getting right now toward the west in Lanier County, but that's toward Clinton County. I'll be watching there more toward Eccles County here as we get along here in that timeline. So again, a lot of that electrical energy around now. Again, looking there at everything going on. Just trying to give you guys the very latest here. I see that there's some more considerable flash flooding toward Otsego County in New York as well. Otsego County, maybe how you pronounce that, there in New York. And they're having some issues up that way. A national level story, but not talking about that in our local level at this point, which is good news. But of course, we're watching everything. Let's see how much rain's falling in here. Storm total. Some of these areas here, and I probably took it 1 hour even. Some areas getting over an inch as we're getting back in northern Brooks County, but nothing's really been overwhelming with the rainfall so far. But we have to watch these storms. You see some of this stuff developing with the Tallahassee. No advisories yet, but eventually probably start getting some advisories here and could end up getting warning that these mature a little bit more. So we're going to keep our eyes on things. I think we're going to go and wrap it up since they haven't issued a warning downstream. And it'll be a more rural area out there anyway to the east there in the Jacksonville jurisdiction. So if they do issue a warning in there, if we're not seeing a whole bunch of me, just post about it on Facebook and on Twitter there, and then come on if and as needed here as we look ahead in the timeline. So Facebook, Casey Cloud Reacts, Cloud Weather. That's where your sources are on that one platform. Again, that's Facebook. And then Twitter at Cloud Casey. Will be posting the warning information if we don't need to come on just on those. But if we come on, it'll be on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch there. And all the links available on the website, cloudweather.com, to all these different platforms. There's a radar up there where you can go and get an interactive look at that as well. Of course, if you haven't already hit that subscribe button there on YouTube, do that. That is free to do, and you can set the notifications there so you're notified whenever we come on, even if you have them set up there to get all the notifications, you'll be able to know when we're coming on. And when we're on here for the latest on these strong to severe type of threats around or tornadic threats. So I just have to keep that in mind here as well. Just helping you have another way. You're supposed to have multiple ways to get alerts here. That's just another way to get alerted to severe the potential across our area by having those notifications enabled after you've subscribed. That's all free there on YouTube. If you haven't already made a YouTube account, you do have to do that, but that's just something there that you're able to use there, and then that makes it a little bit easier generally here for you. But if you don't want to do all that, then just watch on YouTube or one of the platforms. YouTube, I know you can just watch on that without being logged in too. And I just have to keep an eye out to see when I'm coming on in general by watching weather through some different sources here. Just checking YouTube to see when I'm actually on, but you'll be able to just kind of back things up on that stream as well. Even to back things up, so if you heard me say something but you weren't 100% sure what I said in terms of maybe just the exact details, maybe you were kind of looking at something else while I was talking, you can back it up to see what I was saying or what I was warning our viewers about. So, again, it's something to kind of keep in mind. So, again, around Lakeland there, some stronger winds still possibility around Lakeland, Georgia. Seeing some wind maybe closer to 50, which could be a little bit of an increase here in level of concern, but we have to watch the angle. It can get kind of tricky here sometimes. That's kind of moving toward Homerville here over the next little bit, so we'll be watching that area. We'll be watching that area in Homerville in Clinch County, giving a heads up in case we have another warning, but don't necessarily think we should come back if it's just a severe thunderstorm warning, which I say just a severe thunderstorm warning, but sometimes in these situations, severe thunderstorm warnings can be a little bit more substantial than other times, so keep that in mind. Keep that in mind here as we continue to give you guys the latest. I know the direction on this is kind of interesting because a lot of this stuff is moving a little bit more south, but it looks like there anyway. Yeah, that's moving a little more easterly there, so I could get it closer to Homerville over the next little bit. So again, just a heads up for you guys around Homerville in Clinch County. Let's see what else we might have here. If there are any questions from any of the viewers at home. I don't see any, but just again, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me here on this Friday. I was trying to see exactly what we need to touch on here in the Weather Center. Let me just kind of see here the velocity, the base velocity. Again, seeing a little bit of enhancement now. Let's say a little bit stronger now, northwest of Stockton. Kind of gives you a little bit of pause about wrapping things up, unfortunately. This would be moving more toward, there's like DuPont there over the next little bit, but again, just going to keep on checking here. It could be just a little bit of obstruction here with the radar angles picking things up too. It's not out of the question, I don't think, but we'll see. Jacksonville office, they decided to go ahead and upgrade to a warning over there. There's an advisory toward the east right now, but we're just going to keep checking to see if a warning gets issued here. Talking about winds about 55 miles an hour there just off the surface, so that could be an issue here as we look ahead toward areas there like DuPont, depending on the exact angle this is taken. It could be further south there, but again, we'll just have to keep on tracking things, keep on monitoring things here. Let me check some of the other radars, Tallahassee, because we're kind of right at it on the other. The angle is kind of tricky. Okay, that actually says the wind's stronger to the south up here at 7,000 feet. This is why it's good to have radar at different heights to get an idea of what could be happening down toward the surface. Seeing winds closer to 50 there north of Staytonville. And then as we look to the north, you're not seeing much wind at all. And then let's check Jacksonville's radar then. And then that says the wind's really strong there near Staytonville, which is really interesting. If you just saw that and didn't have the other radar, you'd be saying you have to have a warning. But the other radar here is showing much weaker winds, and it seemed like a pretty good angle. So it's really tricky here sometimes, the overall pattern, how these winds can sometimes do or don't get down to the surface. This is right on the line, so I wonder if those winds are a little bit stronger on stage, but maybe not to 60, but maybe in the 55 range. I feel like that's a little bit more possible there because the way that angle is, I almost wonder that's kind of cutting things off there a bit in terms of not being able to see that wind of Tallahassee and Jacksonville, seeing that wind aloft there in that area there. I mean, this is not quite severe on here, 55 at 6,500 feet. Then this is showing it here at a much lower level, though only 700 feet and only winds about 30. Obviously, you're trying to warn for the winds closer to the surface, not the winds aloft. And the winds, though, at about 7,000 feet, showing up here at about 66 miles an hour from the Jacksonville radar here. So, again, it's kind of tricky in these type of situations, but the closest radar shows the strongest winds from Lakeland to Stockton. The other radar don't really show in those type of winds up there. So, it's really tricky sometimes. Radar meteorology is an interesting thing. So right now, we're going to wrap it up, I think, here. That warning Tallahassee has should be getting dropped here soon as we get close to 5:30. They may let it right into 5:30 based on the timing of this. Here, they could issue a significant advisory for a little sliver if they don't upgrade, reissue. As we're looking there between talking about reissue for Tallahassee or upgrade for Jacksonville, really. So again, we're keeping tabs on everything here for you, and we'll post information as needed on Facebook, on Twitter. Come live if needed again on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch. We got to watch here for more development down toward the Big Bend where it's very hot. But it's this time of year, that's really your leading factor for potential severe conditions. If you have triggers in play, then that's your leading factor for some problems potentially happening. That's going to do it for now. We'll be back if necessary. For now, thanks so much for tuning in. Thanks so much for trusting me. Some strong weather, Lakeland and Staytonville could have a severe gust or pretty nasty gust in there. We'll watch, we'll track it here for you as needed. I know the lightning pattern not really thin up much down here, so that could be precluding some of the stronger threat. You never know, though. You just never know here in these type of setups. We'll be keeping our eyes on things here, though, as the timeline does continue to march along.